Art supplies are expensive. As artists, we're constantly told we need to buy new supplies to make better art. That expensive materials automatically mean better results. And sure, sometimes they help. Like most people, I don't have much money to buy such pricey supplies, but wait, what's that?
Bruh.
Bro, get out of here. Okay, and who decided you can't make insane art using what you already have? I've been an artist since I was literally 3 years old, and if I can make a masterpiece like this, with my hands and some random paint, who's to say we can't do the same now? So today, I'm giving myself a $10 budget to build a crazy abandoned diorama and prove you do not need expensive supplies to make good art. As I plan on my diorama, let me tell you the rules for this challenge. Every material I use will be counted at its real value, which is what I originally paid for it, unless if it's actually free. That means any old supplies I already own will even also be counted. For this build, I'm creating an abandoned graffiti covered scene, and honestly, the best thing about dioramas is that you don't need anything expensive. You can use recycled or free materials. For all my builds, I literally aim to use like 90% recycled material, and that's where this gets interesting, because once I hit $10, I can't use anything else. Okay, this is my basic sketch. I'm really happy with how it turned out, so let's finally get started. I'm going to use this beautifully decorated old canvas I found as my base for my diorama. I remember this was in a pack of 6 mini canvases I bought years ago and priced around $1 each, which is what we will add to our counter. And we won't be needing this, so let's just quickly paint it, and now I'm going to layer on cardboard that I found for free onto the base. I used to think cardboard was something that you actually needed to buy until I realized that some stores actually have a free cardboard area where you can just steal cardboard from their store. I'm going to use this hot glue gun to glue down everything, and hot glue guns are actually really cheap, but I won't be counting it in the budget because it's a tool and not a material. I'm evenly distributing all of the hot glue onto the canvas and making sure that I press down all of the pieces of cardboard onto the canvas so it becomes more sturdy. I don't want to be gluing my diorama on the flimsy canvas fabric, so this is why I'm putting the cardboard on top as a layer. Okay, now we have our base done, so let's just rip this free cardboard box I found. All the cardboard that I use is from things I already own or the packaging of things I bought. So technically, it's all free. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut off all the flaps and make sure that each piece is flat. For this one, I'm going to be planning out my diorama and making sure that I make a base structure using this cardboard that I'm cutting out. I'm going to mark out where I want everything to be using a pencil, and also plan it out by drawing the door and also different details that I want to add. I made a rough sketch of everything and where I wanted it to be placed on this specific wall because that's the main wall, and then I cut out other pieces of cardboard on the side to support the wall standing up. If there weren't these supports, then the wall would be really flimsy and might fall down. Again, I'm going to use hot glue to glue everything together, and hot glue is honestly the best glue for dioramas because it dries quickly and is really sturdy. With the same X-Acto knife, I'm going to cut out the door and the windows because I want the door to have a bit of depth and be set into the wall, and the windows to have glass. Now we have our base structure finished, and I just want to add some stairs into the setback door inside the wall because I want it to have a little bit more interesting structure architecturally. I'm using a hot glue gun and cutting out small pieces, each of them for the step, and then I'm going to add a base to make the stair sturdy and also glue the door that we cut out previously and glue it back on top of the stairs. To seal the sides and the top of the door, I'm also going to add some 2 side pieces that I cut out because it is going to be set into the wall and I don't want there to be gaps. I'm just using hot glue and then pressing it hard to seal it. Let me show you guys how this would look behind the door. I feel like it adds a lot more depth and it looks way better than just having a flat door there. I'm going to now use balsa wood to add some more details and build up on our wall. I'm using 2 sheets of balsa wood and cutting out small details, which comes up to a price of 50 cents. And that comes up to a total of $1.50 so far in our build. It's actually really cheap and it's something that I own all the time being an architecture student. Now I'm cutting the same cardboard that we had earlier and gluing it onto the wall. I'm going to use the same 2 balsa wood sheets that I was using before and use it to frame the wall continuously. I'm cutting them to size and then hot gluing them on and making sure that they stick well. To add a little more to this top section, I'm going to use balsa wood and create a little grid design. I've added all the details that I wanted on the wall, so now it's time to start detailing the windows and the doors. I'm using the same balsa wood and cutting them into thin strips and then gluing it with hot glue to create the framing. I'm also using this chicken wire that I found randomly for 50 cents each, and I'm putting it onto this window specifically. I want to have my windows to be different and have a bit of character, so I'm not adding the same thing in each one. Using this plastic sheet that I found in some packaging, I'm going to add a different texture onto the wall where the door and this mesh window is. To cut it to size, I'm marking it with a pencil and then using an X-Acto knife to cut it out. I don't want to cover the window and the door, so I'm going to mark it out with a pencil and then cut it out with my X-Acto knife. With the same X-Acto knife, I'm going to use a technique where I engrave the lines into the plastic. This method is really cool because when you paint on the surface, the paint wouldn't go on the tiles but instead go inside in between. I'm just going to glue it on with my hot glue gun, and then I'm going to add some details on the windows. I'm going to be using chicken skewer sticks that I found in my pantry and cutting them to size to put a grid on top of the windows. The price for these skewers were around 20 cents. Now that we finished our base structure, we're going to add texture using wall filler. Wall filler is what I use to create like a texture that is like concrete, and it's priced around $5, which takes up so much of our budget, but promise it's worth it. Nevertheless, I think this might be the most useful technique of creating texture that looks like concrete because I can't think of anything else that would make it the same. I'm going to evenly spread all the wall filler onto the wall and make sure that it covers all parts of it. Even using my fingers to smudge it out properly, and I'm also going to do the same to the stairs because I want it to be concrete as well. Now I'm going to be using this foam board. This foam board is actually free because I found it in the recycling, and it's really useful because it has a paperback surface but there's foam inside. I'm cutting a lot of bricks, which I'm going to use to make a brick wall on the right side of my wall. Cutting these out, I'm using scissors and not an X-Acto knife because it would take a lot faster. And then I'll glue them on individually into a brick pattern onto the wall. It takes some time to do this, but the end results are quite nice, and I prefer doing it this way because it looks a lot more better. Okay, now we're finally done laying all the bricks on the wall. And for the floor, I'm going to be using air hardening modeling clay priced around $2 each pack. I'm using this and then using my fingers to spread it out evenly on the floor. Finally, once it dries, we can start painting. Okay, I waited for around an hour now and it's almost done drying, so we'll just start painting now. As you can see, most of my paint is paints that I've been using for a long time, and I can't even get this white paint out because I've used it so much. I'm trying to squeeze out as much paint as possible and then using a brush to distribute it out of the bottle. I'm starting off by weathering the walls and putting a grey wash all over, and then using a darker tone to create the grids. I'm also going to paint the top sections of the framing grey because I want it to seem like metal. To not make everything seem too dark, I'm going over with white on the wall again. I'm also going to add some depth into the concrete floor by adding a white dry brush and highlighting all of the texture into the floor. Dry brushing is probably one of the best ways to accentuate details, which is what I do after painting all the base colors on my build. And we can't forget to paint the door and the bricks. For the bricks, I'm just layering this brown paint and creating darker textures on some of the bricks and lighter textures on the other. I'm not going to pay too much attention because it's not the main focus of the diorama, and it will probably be covered in nature anyways. Now for the windows, I'm using lamination paper and tracing paper. These two types of papers are translucent and are perfect for shining lights behind, and it creates a really cool effect with the light. I'm sticking them on using hot glue, and then I'm going to start adding details with this wire. This wire was free, and I'm just sticking it onto a little piece of balsa wood and then putting it onto the wall. It's going to act as sort of like a wire, and I'm going to put it around the diorama as if it was electrically connected to something. I don't know. But it looks pretty cool, honestly, and I'm just going to paint over the boxes that I put before so it matches the diorama, and just add a little bit of extra dry brushing to make it match with the scene. And finally, it's time for the graffiti. I'm going to be using Posca pens and markers, and I'm just swatching them. Usually I reference them from Pinterest, and for now guys, I'll just leave you with a little montage of how I do the graffiti. Okay, after finally finishing the graffiti, we're going to work on a dumpster. This is my first ever dumpster that I made, so I assure you this guys is going to be the proper in-depth tutorial and a better version of this one. First, I'm going to cut out pieces of cardboard to use for the dumpster, and I'm just roughly measuring out what I need for each piece. We're going to need a front, back, and 2 side pieces for the dumpster. The back piece should be a lot bigger than the front piece because it is diagonally challenged. Whoa, I did not mean to say that. I meant to say that it has a slight slant and diagonal part on the bin. Anyways, I'm going to start cutting out strips of cardboard and adding some more details on the front of the dumpster. Using the same basswood, I'm also going to add some trimmings on the edge of all of the dumpster and then make sure that it's all lined up. I'm then going to add these brackets on the side of the bin and add some triangular support pieces on the side. For the lid of the bin, I'm going to use 2 pieces of cardboard and then stick on little wooden handles on top. After this, we finally have the base structure of our dumpster and now we can paint it. It looks really cute so far. So we're just going to quickly paint it with the base color, and I'm going to use grey, and then we're going to layer it with some dark green paint. Using the dark green paint is a little bit hard since I was impatient and didn't wait for the paint to dry properly, but after a few coats it started to become more matte and I added more detail gradually, layer by layer. Adding weathering and also some white dry brushing is the best way to go about this, and make sure to use some lighter green hues as well. I added some graffiti and now it's time for one of the last bits, which is foliage. I'm using model static grass, which takes 50 cents in each part, and I buy it from online. I'm using my hot glue gun to stick all the foliage together, and now I'll be adding some final details in a quiet montage. Wait till the end to see the results. We finally finished the build and it only took a total of $9.70, which means that we saved 30 cents altogether. I hope this video shows that you can make art anywhere and use whatever you want. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I love you guys so much, and subscribe. See you in another video.